Here we go for real this time. It's pretty freaky. The trick is to stay in the middle. Don't worry, Ted, I've got the camera strap on my hand. And the battery's about to die. Pretty cool looking water slide, except for maybe that potentially rocky ending. It's like a staircase. It just keeps going and the steps are huge. Well, good morning and welcome to day 18 of my 30-day backpack adventure in the Sierras. Oh my gosh, today I think is going to be one of the hardest days. Harder than Whitney in some ways, because today I have to climb 3,600-ish feet in 7.4 miles, and then I need to, ideally, to stick to plan, go another 3 miles down the hill to camp. So it's going to be super brutal. I got up early. I got out of camp by 7:17. Then my battery died, so I had to stop and change it. It's going to be a long, long day, and I'm telling you, the hills, they just take the wind out of me. I literally go into sloth mode when I start going up hills. So I honestly don't even know if I'm gonna make it over the pass. We'll see. Look at all these wildflowers. They're so beautiful. Red ones, magenta, purple. They're so gorgeous. So last night, when I was a couple miles or so out from camp, I was at a stream crossing and a couple guys came over, and one guy seemed really beaten up. He was tired. He was like, you know what, I don't think I'm gonna go much further. I feel nauseous. And his friend was like, well, Woods Camp is only a few more miles. And the guy was like, I don't know. So he rested there for a while, and I was wondering if it was altitude sickness. Anyway, I got my water and went on. But later on down the trail, he caught up with me. I was sitting on a rock resting, and I said, hey, how you doing? Are you feeling better? And he just said, yeah, I just needed to rest. I had a really hard day. I did 16 miles. Turns out he's this really cool guy. His name is High Five. And we ended up walking the last couple miles together to camp. And it was cool. He was telling me about kind of his group dynamic that he was in and his trip and how he planned it and doing the AT. And oh my gosh, we traded stories of that horrible rainy night, you know, where I spent 6 hours hiding in my tent in the rain. He was actually coming off of Whitney with his crew, and they were at Guitar Lake, and you know, I guess they were gonna stay there, but then for some reason they didn't. Maybe it was coming down too hard. So I think they packed everything up wet and went on down to Crabtree, and by the time they got there, they were just wet through and through. Like, their tents are wet, their sleeping bags are wet, their clothes are wet, everything was wet. I mean, they were basically going hypothermic. And the rangers were cool. The rangers gave them warm bottles of water to help warm them up, and then also hung their clothes and stuff to dry in the cabin where they have like a little potbelly stove. So he said it was awesome. The rangers totally had their back. And then somehow we started talking about resupplies. This was actually the part at which we traded names. We didn't trade names right away. And then, so after he told me his trail name, I said, oh, I'm Diane, AKA Pokemon. And he's like, no way. Like he'd heard of me or something, which is weird because nobody. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And he said that trail angel Mike, the one in the gray Subaru, who was so cool to give you a ride up the mountain to Horseshoe Meadows, had mentioned me when he was driving High Five to Independence, because I guess High Five asked about some of his most memorable rides lately, and for some reason I was one of them. I don't know why. And he was like, yeah, I was looking for her, I wonder how she's doing. And you know, High Five didn't know who I was. He was like, oh well, I haven't seen her. So anyway, I thought that was cool. Thanks Mike for caring. I really was hoping to see you when I came down from Kearsarge Pass, but alas, there was only a shuttle. So yeah, that was pretty cool. It's funny how the trail kind of, when you're on it for a while, becomes this instantly small community where people start knowing each other. Like, he knew Cougar Bait, he'd actually been hiking with him for a while. The last mile is always the worst. It doesn't matter if it was a 7-mile day or a 12-mile day, something's gonna be screaming super loud, full of pain. For me, it was my shoulders were screaming, and then my feet were kind of a distant second. So, chatting with High Five down the trail was awesome, because it helped us both, I think, keep our minds off our barking dogs, as he calls them. And then when I got to camp, he introduced me to his crew, who showed up shortly after. When I came into camp, it was definitely a hiker village, and I plopped myself pretty much in the middle of it, right near the bridge, because I didn't want to have to take any extra step to get across that bridge. So I strategically put myself near 2 older guys who seemed cool, and that turned out to be the case. And then High Five and his crew parked behind me, and it all worked out great. So I was glad I camped there and met them. Now I have a much better sense of who's hiking the trail, which is always good to know. I think it's good to be seen, because if you go missing, people will notice. Sorry, I keep talking to myself and not you. It's just myself is the only face out here. So yeah, and I'm trying to get an early start today because it's all up. It's up, up, up all day. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And it is Pinchot Pass. Pinchot with a T, not Pinchos with an S, as in chicken on a stick in Puerto Rico. Oh, so good. And not Pinochet. So, okay, let me show you this awesome river, and then we got to keep going. Trail ahead. Awesome river. Wildflowers everywhere, and the backcountry of Kings Canyon National Park. Not too many people go this deep in the park. These are everywhere. All up the trail. A little sketchy crossing, but doable. So it's a little after 9 a.m. and it's so hot already. I'm like sweating all over. This is gonna be a really challenging day, because I think most of it near the top is all in the sun. But it's so beautiful, and I'm still so thankful to be out here, especially in the shade. There is a ton of biological diversity on this trail. I mean, it's got everything from pygmy pines to sagebrush to wildflowers to ferns to birch trees even, and some aspens. Super interesting scenery here. Oh, and it's 10 degrees cooler in that shade. Okay, more sun. Aspens. cute little pygmy ones. And more hill. So this is the canyon I'm hiking up, and check out this waterfall. So pretty. As usual, 2 hummingbirds just flew around my head and I didn't have the camera out. I'm sorry, I'm not getting really any wildlife pictures. I just never have the camera ready. Anyway, I'm taking a little break at this beautiful stream here. It's so hot, it's probably 10. I need to water up, and I think I'm gonna wet my shirt because it's that hot on this hill. I went up the hill there to water the plants, and it smelled like wild peppermint up there. It just smelled so good. It was just, it's just so heavenly up here, even though it's hot and miserable all at the same time. It's like having kids. It's like good and bad all at the same time. Achoo! Those guys are trail crew, and they have some really heavy looking packs. They're moving camp to Bench Lake, and they say mules are coming later. 1, 2, 3. Weather still looks okay for the moment. Oh, got a mosquito bite. Look at this cute little meadow. It's got little ground squirrels in it. I used to chase the ground squirrels when I was a kid up at Vogelsang in Yosemite. It's amazing. So it's a little after 12:15. I've been walking for 5 hours and I've only gone 4.3 miles. Granted, it's been 99% uphill, and I have stopped to take photos and videos and all of that, but still, that's a long time. And it's another 3.1 miles to the top. And clouds are, you know, thinking about gathering, but they don't look threatening yet. All that said, I've got to soak my feet and give them a little break and water up before I go further up the hill, because it's been a hot one. So that's the plan. Let's hope I make it to the top and over. I have a 10-mile day planned today, so I'm only 40% done, and the day's half over. And how'd you get that job? There we go. And the trail goes on, I think, over there, and pass, I believe, is over there in that saddle. So pretty. Hope it doesn't thunder on me. This has been a really tough day. I haven't shown a lot of footage because I'm still trying to get to the top of Pincho Pass. It's just taking forever, and I'm out of breath, and it's starting to rain, and I haven't seen any thunder, thank goodness, but I just need to keep trucking until I get up and over this thing, and then I have more miles to get to any sort of camp. So it's, last time I looked at the clock a while ago, it was like 4:30, so it's probably 5 by now. So I really just have to keep trucking. But here's a view for you. I've come a long way. Down around where those tarns are, down below those mountains, and still a ways to go up to the top, which is up there somewhere. Oh my God, with a loaded pack, that was every bit as hard as Whitney. Oh, and I got hailed on, only a little, but dang, this is the view. This is where I came from. I came through all that. This trail went on forever. Here's the top. That's a new view where I'm going. And I gotta put the camera away ASAP. Pincho Pass is a lot drier than the other passes so far. It's a pretty lake. There's where it came from, up there. Coming down into Marjorie Lakes. I think I'm gonna camp here tonight, even though it's a little shy of my goal, because I've been on the trail for 10 hours, roughly, and I need a break, so I didn't even take my cooked lunch break. I think I only took about two 20-minute breaks, and then numerous sit on the rock breaks. Maybe a 15-minute bathroom break. Not a lot of breaks today. So, yeah, I guess I'll try to make it up tomorrow. It's pretty though. Marjorie Lake is super pretty. Might have to go on my top 10 lakes. It's gorgeous. Today was such a long day. I mean, I think I only did like 8.8 miles, and my plan was to do 10.1. So I'm only like a mile, 0.3 off or something like that. So it's not that bad, but I am a little behind. That pass was killer, 3,600 feet. Just nothing but up, and the weather was chasing me. I mean, I was gonna have my hot meal for lunch, but because of the weather I couldn't stop, and so my legs are kind of shot, and my feet are shot, and shoulders are shot, and I can't wait to lay down. So on tomorrow's schedule I have Mather Pass toward the end of the day, which is not a good idea at all. When I made my plan, I sort of did it more of on a 10-mile per day basis versus where are the passes. So tomorrow, instead of doing 10, I might do something like 8 and just get really high up on the pass, as high as I can, and then do it in the morning, the next morning. I think that would really help the body out a lot. I haven't even had time to tell you about my new sleeping bag. My new sleeping bag is great. It's a 32-degree bag, so it's not as warmly rated as the other one, but it solved the problem of the cold spots. Like the other one was so old, it just had cold spots all over it. This is brand new, doesn't have cold spots. It also packs up smaller, and I think it's lighter than the one I had. And the fabric is a little more slippery, which is probably good for repelling water, but I do slide around the mat a little bit more. But I'm really loving this in combination with my Thermalite reactor liner. So the first night I had the sleeping bag, I tried it without the liner. It was great because it was kind of a warm evening, but then what happened was in the morning it got really cold, and so it was just generally a little too cold. No cold spots, it was just kind of all over cold because, yeah, the weather. So the next night I tried it with this, and this was great. I mean, you know, this, I can just be in this if it's warm, and then I can sort of throw this on me, and when it gets really cold I can just use them both together, and this adds 15 degrees. So, you know, 32 minus the 15 is, you know, warmer than actually my other bag. So really pleased with that. Oh, and the other thing I got, one of the backpackers I follow on YouTube is Darwin on the Trail, and he was going on about how great it is to have a blow-up pillow. It's 4 more ounces, so it's a total luxury item, but I also got this in the same shipment as I got this, and it makes such a huge difference. I mean, before I was trying to stuff my jacket in my sleeping bag holder, and it was all lumpy and gross, and there's zippers in there and stuff, but this blow-up pillow is totally awesome. Highly recommend it. 4 ounces that will just make sleeping so much better in a tent. So yesterday my calloused blisters on the heels were screaming at the end of the day and all night long. Tonight it's my arches that are screaming. They're just screaming, what have you done to me? So we'll see how this goes, and tomorrow it's gonna be something else screaming. I can't, there's so much that happened today. I mean, people I saw, I mean, no, stop, you gotta stop. More tomorrow.